Alright everybody, here's a quick tutorial about how I did the pan tilt on the mini Talon. First we'll do a little tour. So I'm using Mark Q's pan tilt here. I had to replace this with a ball length. There's actually quite a bit of play in that, but it works for showing this stuff off. I can't remember who made this plate here, but it was just a normal plate and I modified it to take a GWS 360 servo. Back here I have a little spring mounted latch that I designed, and then up front that goes into a couple of other pieces. Got a little scoop in the back. Somebody designed this one and I just removed the footing off of it because I wasn't really a big fan of that. Inside I'm using the Vector flight controller. Not easy to do with one hand. So I've got a Vector in there. I can't recall who did this mount. I don't remember if that was Mark's or somebody else's. And then I'm using the Dragon Link for the receiver, and then out in one wingtip I've got the 1.2 gigahertz video system, and then in the other wingtip is the Dragon Link antenna. This is actually the plug and fly version. It came with a 40 amp speed controller. That's actually why this plywood box was already in here. I would have used the 3D printed box, but I really couldn't take this out without destroying everything. And I am using the RunCam 2 for the actual downlink video. The quality is actually surprisingly good, almost good as a PZ 420 camera. And then I am using the Taranis with the that's the V2 Dragon Link system. Alright, so let's take a look at the pan tilt. Alright, so a couple of things you'll probably notice is, one, this camera is not lining up. For whatever reason, these GWS servos, some of them center really nicely and some of them don't. This is the one that apparently does not. However, if I actually pan it left and then tell it to go back to center, it's actually centered up pretty nicely. However, if it starts right and then goes to center, it's usually somewhere over here. So on the Taranis, so what I'm doing is I'm actually using the aileron and elevator gimbal to control the pan tilt, and I do that by using a couple of switches. So first off, on my Taranis, this is actually the momentary switch over here. Normally it's this back right switch, but I also fly discus launch gliders, so and I'm right-handed, so having this easily accessible via my left hand is important. So anyways, to enable the actual pan tilt, so up top it's essentially just in the center position. Like I said, it doesn't center very well right now. So to enable control with this stick, it takes two different things. One, I have to pull it down, and this into the center position. This is SB. That will then allow me to pull this switch, which will now no longer control the ailerons and will actually control the pan tilt. So you'll notice that by letting go, it's not controlling the position, it's more like a gimbal where it controls the actual speed of the movement. So if you move it just very little, it gets very slow, or you can speed it up. That controls. So naturally that controls the tilt as well. Like I said, it's a little jittery right now just because I need to replace those with ball lengths, but you can see how that's actually controlling the speed of the pan and the tilt. And then if I let go of that, it's just back to normal aileron controls, an aileron elevator. So at any time, as long as this switch is in the center position, which is enable, I can flip this one up, and that allows me to then take control of the gimbal. And now since I'm panned left, if I go ahead and flip this back up, it should actually center fairly nicely. Yeah, so now it's nicely centered. However, like I was saying, if I start from the right-hand side and then go back to center position, it's off a fair amount. So anyways, I don't know if that's something that I'm going to address later or not. So let's just take a quick look at the programming on the Taranis. So most of this is enabled by this pan tilt Lua script. And now in here I have the pan input set to this PPP and tilt set to this TTT value. I can show you what those are here in a second. This enable switch is SF, so whenever that's enabled, it will do the outputs. And what's nice is for troubleshooting, you can actually watch the outputs change here. So if I pull that down and then I start messing with things, I can actually see those outputs change, as well as, obviously now here the servo's moving around. So if I exit that, I'm going backwards, so these are long presses. So if I look at my inputs here, down here I've got this PPP and TTT input, and this is the aileron and elevator stick whenever the L7 logical switch is enabled. And all that is essentially this in center position and this pulled down. So you see whenever that gets pulled forward, both of those get enabled, and that's essentially what the L7 switch is doing. And that's it. That's pretty much the pan tilt programming. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and hope that makes it easy for folks to get this set up on their Taranis.